Imagine that you could wave a magic wand and make your life perfect in each of the 4 key areas of life. You imagine that there are no limitations on what you can do or be or have. Imagine that you have all the time and all the money. You have all the friends and all the contacts, all the education and all the experience that you need to accomplish any goal that you could set for yourself. Decide exactly what you want in every key area of your life. This will immediately set you apart from 80 or 90% of the population. The most important word that I have found in success is clarity. Clarity. Successful people are very clear about what they want. And here's an interesting discovery. The greater clarity you have, the faster you draw into your life the resources necessary to achieve it. Start off by idealizing your perfect life. Now here's the point before we go into the 4 areas. The fear of not achieving your goal, what we call self-limiting beliefs, hold you back more than anything else. And your self-limiting beliefs are not based on reality. That's why you have to constantly think, if I had no limitations, what goals would I set for myself? So let's start with the 4 big areas. The first area has to do with your income and your business and your career. Project forward 5 years. If your income, business, career was perfect 5 years from now, what would it look like? How would it be different from today? What kind of work would you be doing? Who would you be working with? What position would you have in your business? We call this the creation of a 5-year fantasy. Just fantasize a child prior to Christmas. Just imagine that you could create your world perfectly, and what would it look like? And then here's the key question. What would you have to do? What would have to happen? What would be the first step that you would have to take today to begin creating your perfect business and career future? If your goal is to double and triple your income, what is the first step that you would have to take right now? And here's a great discovery. Everybody knows the first step. The first step is clear. Confucius said, a journey of 1,000 leagues begins with a single step. The fact is, the hardest part of success is taking the first step in the direction that you want to go. Remember that. That's what holds most people back. Now, the second area has to do with your family and your relationships. If you could project forward 5 years and your life was perfect, what kind of relationships would you have? What kind of lifestyle would you have? Where would you live? What would you want to do on vacations? What would you want to create for yourself and your family? And remember, clarity is important. Then come back to the present and think into the future and say, what would have to happen starting today for me to create that perfect future? And what would be the first step? The third area has to do with your health. If your health was perfect in every way, sometime in the future, how would it be different from today? How much would you weigh? How much would you exercise? What much energy would you have? How much time would you take off to rest? If your personal life and health and energy was perfect in every way, how would it be different from today? And what would have to happen to make that come true? And what would be your first step? Now, the last area has to do with your net worth, what we call financial freedom. How much do you want to be able to save and accumulate in the course of your working lifetime? Remember this, your likelihood of achieving your lifelong financial goals increased by 10 times by the very act of writing the number down on a piece of paper. This is so important. Now, here's an exercise for you. It's called the quick list method. What you do is you write down 3 goals that you'd like to accomplish in the foreseeable future. You write them down in less than 30 seconds without taking any time to think. You write down your 3 most important goals in life right now. Now, whatever you write down will be an accurate picture of what you really want in your life right now. When you only have 30 seconds to write down 3 goals, your answers will be as accurate as if you had 30 minutes or 3 hours. This is a wonderful exercise for you to engage in. And with our students, we take them through this quick list method, this 3-goal exercise in every area of their life. their family, their income, their business, their customers, products, services, markets, sales. We just write down the 3. But in your case, just write down your 3 most important goals in life and write them down quickly and then look at them, as sometimes you'll be surprised. Now, in goal setting, the next stage, write it down. Remember we talked about clarity? Francis Bacon once says that writing maketh an exact man, is when you write your goals down clearly, they take on a power of their own in your mind. You pull them out of the air where they have no substance at all, and you write them down on paper, and now you have something you can touch. Your goals must be in writing. Many people say, oh, I know exactly what I want. And I've met and worked with these people over the years, and you know something? They're almost all failures. They say, oh, I know what I want. I don't have to write it down. Yes, you do, because until you start writing, we find that there's an incredible connection between the head and the hand. And when you start to write goals, you'll be absolutely astonished what comes out on the paper. And when you write a goal down, you engage in what is called a psychoneuromotor activity. You activate your visual powers, your audio powers, and your kinesthetic powers. And whatever you write down, you actually program straight into your subconscious mind, where it starts to work 24 hours a day. Great stuff, let me tell you. Now, your goals must be clear, specific, detailed, and measurable. You must write out your goals as if you were placing an order for your goal to be manufactured in a factory at a great distance. And what they would do is they would create your goal, your order, and send it to you exactly as you wrote it down. Albert Einstein said that your goal must be so clear that a 6-year-old child could understand it clearly and explain it to another 6-year-old child and be able to tell you if you had achieved your goal or how close you were. This is why you never say, my goal is to be happy, and my goal is to be rich, and my goal is to be popular and meet the right person. These are not goals. These are fantasies. They're wishes. Even crazy people have these wishes. A goal is something that is written down and specific and clear, and your most important goal must be measurable so you know exactly where you are relative to the goal. Now, only 3% of adults have written goals worldwide, and everybody else works for them. In fact, the studies done at Yale and Harvard proved over a 20-30-year period that people with written goals ended up earning and having a net worth 10 times greater than people without goals, holding constant for intelligence, grades, graduation from courses, industries, marital status, and parts of the country. The people who started with goals were 10 times more likely to be successful and were worth 10 times more than the others in the course of a few years. Goal setting is really great. Now, number 3, set a deadline. Set a deadline, and then if necessary, set sub-deadlines on your goal. For example, if you set a 12-month goal to double your income, then you break it down into 9 months, 6 months, 3 months, and then 2 months, 1 month. And then if you're really smart, week by week, and some people even break their goals down into daily activities. If it's a 20-year goal, break it down into 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then 3 months, and then 1 month. The more you break your goal down, the more likely it is you will achieve it. And then you complete your big goal one step at a time. Now, your subconscious mind uses deadlines as forcing systems. They drive you consciously and unconsciously toward achieving your goal on schedule. Anais Nin once said that your subconscious can work against you because when you set a big goal, you're disrupting your subconscious. So your subconscious mind will tell you that it's not possible and will attempt to sabotage you. And the way your subconscious mind sabotages you, it tells you, you can't achieve this goal. You don't need to write it down. It's okay as long as you know what it is. Because of the fear of failure, what you do is you don't write the goal down, and that way you can't fail. Isn't that clever? And people say, if you don't expect anything good, you'll never be disappointed. And these people have no future. You write it down as if by writing it down, it was guaranteed to you. And in many cases, it will be if you write it down. If your goal is big enough, set sub-deadlines. If you want to achieve financial independence, you may set a 10 or 20-year goal and then break it down year by year so that you know how much you have to save and invest each year. If for some reason you don't achieve your goal by the deadline, simply set a new deadline. There are no unreasonable goals, only unreasonable deadlines. And other things can happen that you hadn't expected that will put your deadlines off. Don't worry about it. Just set a new deadline and go back to work. Now, the fourth key in the 12-step method is to identify the obstacles that you'll have to overcome to achieve your goal. Between you and any goal that you want to accomplish, there are obstacles. There's something that's holding you back, or you'd already be there. So always ask this question: why aren't you already at your goal? Sometimes I ask people, would you like to double your income? And they say, of course. I said, why isn't your income already twice as high? You've been working for years and years. You're smart, you're talented, you're surrounded with opportunities. Some people that you know are earning twice as much as you. Why aren't you? And you know what happens is the first thing you think of are your favorite excuses. Oh, I'm so busy, or I didn't finish high school, or I didn't go to college, or I'm working in the wrong industry. These are just excuses. They're not true, but they're ways that you step on your own brakes and hold yourself back. Now, there's a very powerful principle called the principle of constraints. This principle of constraints is, I think, revolutionary. And what it says is that there's always one limiting factor or constraint or bottleneck between you and your goal that sets the speed at which you achieve your goal. So the question is, once you're clear about your goal, and let's say it's a financial goal, is what is the bottleneck that holds you back? For example, I will say to a company, what is your goal? It's to grow in sales and profitability. What's the constraint? More sales. If you had more sales, would you achieve the goal? Yes. So what is the constraint behind that? Better trained salespeople. Maybe it's better products and services. Maybe it's better pricing. Maybe it's new markets. But keep asking, what's holding you back? What sets the speed? Now, the 80-20 rule applies to constraints. Fully 80% of the reasons that are holding you back from achieving your goal are inside yourself. They're not on the outside. Average people always blame their problems on external circumstances. Top people look inside themselves. The things that are holding you back are usually the lack of a skill, the lack of a quality like self-discipline, or the lack of a particular knowledge or skill, all of which you can learn or acquire. Only 20% of the reasons you are not achieving your goals are on the outside, so always start with yourself. Now, the fifth key is to identify the knowledge, information, and skills you will need to achieve your goal. Remember, to achieve a goal that you've never achieved before, you're going to have to learn things and do things you've never done before. You cannot achieve anything more than you're achieving today with the same level of knowledge and skill that you have today. If you could, you'd already have done it. So, identify the skills that you'll have to develop to be in the top 10% of your field. Identify the most important skill, and then identify a number one skill. Now, here's a great discovery. Your weakest key skill sets the height of your income and your success. Your weakest key skill, and improving or bringing up that one weak skill or acquiring that one weak skill will enable you to make more progress than any other factor at the moment. You can make more progress by going to work on the one skill that is holding you back more than any other factor. So ask this question: what one key skill, if you developed and did it in an excellent fashion, would have the greatest positive impact on your life? What one skill, if you developed and did it consistently in an excellent fashion, would help you the most to achieve your most important goal? Whatever the skill, write it down, make a plan, and work on it every day. Sometimes your major goal is the development of the skill necessary to achieve your major goal. And this is a life-changing insight, by the way. Number 6, identify the people whose help and cooperation you will require to achieve your goal. Remember, nobody does it alone unless you run a shoeshine stand or deliver papers. To be successful, you need the help of lots of people. So identify the people whose help and cooperation you'll require to achieve your goal. Who are they? Make a list of every person in your life that you'll have to work with or work around to achieve your goal. Start with the members of your family whose cooperation and support you will require, especially your spouse. List your boss and coworkers and subordinates, because you'll have to work with them and they'll have to work with you to be successful. Especially identify the customers and people on the outside whose support you will need to sell enough of your product or service to make the kind of money that you want. Once you've identified the key people whose help you will require, ask yourself this question: what's in it for them? Be a go-giver rather than a go-getter. Now, to achieve big goals, you'll have to have the help and support of lots of people. One key person at a certain time and place in your life can make all the difference. The most successful people are those who build and maintain the largest networks of other people whom they can help and who can help them in return. This is another whole subject, but here's what we've discovered. The more people you know and who know you in a positive way, the more successful you'll be in virtually every part of your life. It's an amazing discovery. Number 7, make a list of everything you will have to do to achieve your goal. We say that writing out a list transforms your thinking in the most positive and powerful way. Combine the skills that you'll need, the people that help you'll need, the obstacles you'll have to overcome, and write them down and list every single step that you can think of to achieve your goal. Determine the amount of time and or money it will take to achieve your goal. Do you have the resources you need? If you don't, how can you acquire them? Remember, successful people are always thinking, how can I assemble all the resources I need to achieve what I want to achieve? Combine the obstacles that you'll have to overcome, the knowledge and skills you'll have to develop, and the people whose cooperation you'll have to require into this list. List every single step that you can think of that you'll have to follow to ultimately achieve your goal. And as you think of new items, add them to your list until your list is complete. It's interesting, Napoleon Hill said that the writing out of a list of the steps is what changes your life. What we also found was this, is that if you make a checklist of everything you have to do from the beginning to the end, it'll increase the likelihood of achieving your goal by probably 10 times. When you make out a list of all the things you will need to do to achieve your goal, you'll begin to see that this goal is far more attainable than you thought. What you'll see is what was a fantasy before starts to become a reality. The more things you write down, the more you think, I could do this, and I could do that, and I could do this and this. And it starts to occur to you that doubling or tripling your income, becoming financially independent, hey, I could do this. Like Annie in the play, I could do that. I could do that. Henry Ford once said that anything can be accomplished if you break it down into enough small steps. As I said before, Confucius said a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. You can build the biggest wall in the world, one brick at a time. Now, number 8, and this is really important, this is what requires thought and judgment and foresight on your part. Number 8 is to organize your list into a plan. First, organize your list by sequence. That means, what do you have to do before you can do something else? What is the order of steps, like the checklist I talked about? Next, organize your list by priority. What is more important and what is less important? Remember the 80-20 rule. 80% of your results will come from 20% of your activities, from the things you do. The 20-80 rule also says that the first 20% of time that you spend planning your goal, organizing your plan, will be worth 80% of the time and effort required to achieve the goal in the final analysis. Planning is very important. Number 9, make a plan. Organize your list into a series of steps from beginning to end, from start all the way through to the completion of your goal. When you have a goal and a plan, you increase the likelihood of achieving your goals, as I said, by 10 times, by 1,000%. There's a rule that says every minute spent in planning saves 10 minutes in execution or carrying out the plan. So, be a planner and think on paper. Plan each day, each week, and each month in advance. All successful people plan in advance, which gives them a chance to think through what might happen and what they could do to either make it better or to avoid danger. Plan each month at the beginning of the month. Lay out the 30 days and work out what you're going to do each day of the month, just generally speaking. Plan each week the weekend before. Plan each day the night before. Make a list of everything you have to do the following day before you go to sleep. The wonderful thing is that your subconscious mind can work on those items all night long, and when you wake up in the morning, you'll have all kinds of ideas and insights on how to complete the tasks and achieve the goals that you wrote down. Remember, the more careful and detailed you are when you plan your activities, the more you'll accomplish in less time. Develop the habit of self-discipline. There seems to be a direct relationship between self-discipline and success in every part of life. The number one reason that people don't succeed is because they can't discipline themselves to do the planning and preparation and then the hard work necessary. So how do you discipline yourself? You make a list of everything you have to do during the day. You set priorities on your list, and then you start on your most important task first thing and discipline yourself to keep working. Once you've decided on your most important task, resolve to concentrate single-mindedly on that one task until it's 100% complete. In time management,
have a vision for yourself and a vision for your life. The key to having a vision is to have a dream. They say in the song, you've got to have a dream if you want to make a dream come true. And you can fulfill your dreams. All the great movers and shakers throughout all of history have been dreamers. They've been people with dreams. They've been people with visions. All leaders have vision. In the book of Solomon, it says, where there is no vision, the people perish. And the metaphysical meaning of that is that where people lack vision, they perish inside because they lose the excitement and the thrill of life. And what most people do because of negative experiences, because of fear of failure and so on, is if they have a vision at all, they tone it down so it's so small and so safe that it doesn't turn them on. It doesn't excite them, and they wonder why life isn't exciting. A beautiful line I read not long ago said, if the best way to predict the future is to create it, which means to have a vision, and even though the vision is in the air or the sky, then build a foundation under your dreams. And when you see men and women who rise from poverty and obscurity to fame and renown, you invariably see someone who had a vision of what they could be and have and do that was far beyond what they were. Every one of us has had an experience. At one time, when we were small, we had a vision of being grown up and having our own cars. And as we grew older, we had a vision of having our own homes and our own families. And as we grew older, we had a vision of traveling and going to Europe. We fulfill all our visions. The wonderful thing is this, is that we always tend to achieve our goals. The problem is that our goals are set so low that even when we do achieve them, they don't turn us on. They don't fill us with enthusiasm. So dream big dreams, if you like, and focus on results, not activities. This is the key. Be clear about the results that you're trying to accomplish. This is one of the keys of peak performance, by the way. All peak performers are result-oriented. All losers or underachievers tend to be activity-oriented. And in activity orientation, what they do is they work very, very hard. Sometimes they work frantically. Sometimes they work longer hours than you do, but they lose sight of the results. Ben Trigo, the strategic thinker, said, very worst thing in the world is to do very efficiently what need not be done at all. And many of us work very, very hard to do very efficiently what need not be done at all. And anybody who's ever had employees will tell you that every single day you come across your employees doing something very diligently, but it's completely irrelevant to the success of the business. So focus on results. Here's a key question to ask yourself when in your working life. I think it's one of the most important key questions. I'll give you two. Number one is, what results are expected of me? What results are expected of me? Not what activities, but what results or what outputs, what am I supposed to produce in my job? A second question you can ask yourself is, why am I on the payroll? Why am I on the payroll? And one of the keys to success is to be very straight and to be very clear, be very precise. Interesting, one of the reasons why people do not speak to the point is for fear of offending others. Not true? For fear of offending others. Interesting study they did last year. They asked a great number of executives, male and female. They said, if you had to tell a person something unfortunate with regard to their career that was going to affect their lives, and this is something that you've known for a long time, how would you go about breaking the news to them? And each of the person described the strategy they would take. They would set up the timing right. They would start off with a talking about subjects that they had in common. They would close the door and keep out the noise. Anyways, they went around and round, and they're all circuitous routes of how they would get to the point. And then they reversed the question. They said, how would you like to be informed of this same subject? And every single one of them said, I'd like to be informed in a straightforward way. I'd like somebody to tell me straight the news. You see, all of us want to be dealt with in a straightforward way because we know we can take whatever it is. But we think that everybody else is too fragile. So what we do is we pussyfoot and tippy-toe around and avoid giving them the news. And we finally do get the news to them. Sometimes causes more problems than is necessary. So be straightforward. Be clear in your language. Be clear in your actions. Let people know exactly where you stand. And let people know exactly what you've said and what you mean. Very, very important. And it takes practice, by the way. Every single one of these habit patterns, every single one of these qualities has to be learned by practice.
Did you know that you can increase your self-confidence and self-esteem immediately by thinking about your good points? Perhaps the greatest discovery in all of human history is the fact that you become what you think about most of the time. Emerson said that a person is what he thinks about all day long. The way you think determines the way you react and respond to things happening around you. The way you react and respond determines your emotions. Your emotions determine your actions, and your actions determine your results. Everything begins with your thinking. Successful high-performance people think about positive, constructive things most of the time. They think about what they want and how to get it most of the time. Especially, they maintain high levels of self-acceptance and self-esteem by thinking about their good points, by thinking about the positive qualities and characteristics that they have and that you have, and which they have developed over the course of their lifetimes. Unhappy, negative people think and talk about all the things that they've done wrong, the mistakes they've made, and the people that have hurt them in the past. Happy, confident people instead think about all the positive things they've done and achieved over their lifetimes, and they look forward to accomplishing even more in the future. Make a list of all your good qualities, of which there are many. For example, write down the fact that you are honest, you're intelligent, you're creative, you're hardworking, you're friendly, you're helpful, you're generous, you're sincere, you're persistent. Everyone has these qualities to some degree, and you have all of these qualities as well, more or less. Then, make a list of everything that you've accomplished over your lifetime, going back to childhood. When you start thinking about it, you will realize that you have accomplished hundreds of large and small goals over the years, starting from when you completed your first year of school or played your first sport. Since then, you have learned, worked, traveled, had relationships, achieved goals, won certain successes, and on and on. Accentuate the positive and ignore the negative. Think of your unique talents and abilities. Think of your core skills, the things that you do exceptionally well that account for most of your success in your profession and in your personal life right now. Think of what an exceptional person you really are, all things considered. When you do this exercise and create a personal inventory of all your best points, you accept yourself even more and you grow in self-confidence and self-esteem. Soon enough, you feel terrific about yourself and becoming even more dedicated to the realization of your full potential. Now, here's an exercise that you can do. Make a list of all of your best qualities, the virtues, values, talents, and abilities that make you an extraordinary person, unique in all the world. From now on, think about the most positive aspects of yourself and your personality, and let the rest go.
You see, you don't have to be a quantum leap different from somebody else. You just have to be a little tiny bit different in the critical areas that make a difference. And you can achieve that simply by making it a goal, setting it as a goal, and working on it. You can become anything that you want to become. The harder you work, the better you get. The harder you work, the better you get. You know, in our society, there's a lot of controversy over why should I work so hard for my job? The fact of the matter is that less than 5% really succeed. That's less than 5% of the population really succeed at life. Of 100 people working today, only 1 will be wealthy when they retire. 4 will be financially independent. 15 will have some savings. 80% will be broke and dependent upon charities and pensions. Only 1 or 2% of people in each generation really makes it in life. And in every single study, those people who make it are those who work hard, hard, hard. And if you think that it's hard to be successful, try being a failure. Try coming to the end of the trail with no money, dependent upon pensions, and you don't know what hard is until you try living like that. But if you work hard, the average self-made millionaire in America works 12 to 13 hours a day, works about 60 to 65 hours a week. I'll tell you this with regard to hard work, that in our society, you only work 8 hours a day for survival. Everything over 8 hours is for success. And if you're only working 8 hours a day, you're in trouble. If you're only working 8 hours a day, you better have a rich uncle, or you better have somebody else who's going to take care of you, because 8 hours a day only gets you survival in our society, because it's so competitive that somebody else is working 9, they've got an edge on you. Somebody else is working 10, they've got a bigger edge on you. Every hour over 8 that you invest is an investment in your future, is an investment in your success. And if you put in the hours over 8, whether it's studying or reading or working, if you put in the hours, it will pay off, and it will pay off in spades. It's like throwing seed in the ground. When you throw a seed in the ground, the plant that comes up is not just one seed, it's hundreds of seeds. There's a crop that you put in, but you must put the seed in the ground first. The market only pays excellent rewards for excellent performance. It pays average rewards for average performance. It pays below average rewards for below average performance. And I talk to men and women all over America who are unhappy, and they're sad, and they don't like their work. And you know why? It's because they're not good at what they're doing. And let me give you a couple of key points. First of all, you'll never have a feeling of self-esteem and self-worth. You'll never feel wonderful about yourself until you know that you are good at what you're doing. Number 2 is, if you do not love your work enough to want to be the best at it, get out of it the way you would get out of a burning house. Do not stay at a job that you do not love, because it is the high road to failure, dissatisfaction, frustration, and unhappiness in life. Listen to your intuition. Your intuition is one of the best guides that you possibly have. You know from some of the other work that we've done is that each person has inside them an intuitive sense which will always give you the exact right answer for you. They've done some studies between men and women. When they test women's intuition, you've heard of women's intuition, everybody's heard of women's intuition. They find that when you give men and women tests and they're asked to answer on the basis of their intuition, men's intuition is equally as accurate as women's intuition. The only difference is that in real life, women have the intelligence to listen to their intuition, which is why they're smarter than men. And men do not listen to their intuition. Instead, they override their intuition because they're trying to get something they want the fastest and easiest way, even if their gut feeling says don't do it. Has anybody here ever gone against their intuition and had it work out? No. Your intuition will always give you the most accurate answer for you. It's almost like an inbuilt computer that will take all of your life experience and knowledge and everything going on around you and give you exactly the right answer. So listen to your intuition. Learn from your setbacks. This is one of the characteristics of high-performing men and women, is that every single time they have a problem or a difficulty, they sit back and they dissect it and they learn everything possible from it. They try to develop general principles. From each setback, they say, what is the valuable lesson I can learn? So you take a look at everything that has happened to you, take a look at the very most difficult experience that you're in right now, and ask yourself, what is the most valuable lesson I can learn from this experience? And believe me, if you look for the lesson, in the Bible it says, seek and ye shall find. It doesn't say seek and occasionally you might find something. It says seek and ye shall find. If you look for the valuable lesson or the seed of an equal or greater advantage or benefit in every difficulty, you will find it. It's always there. And I love the line from Socrates that says, the unexamined life is not worth living, which means that the life where you do not take the time to reflect on your experiences. Aristotle said that wisdom is an equal measure of experience plus reflection. And the reason so few people have wisdom is what they have is experience, but they never take the time to sit back and reflect on what's happening to them, reflect on what they're learning. How many people here have seen people get out of bad relationships and get immediately back into bad relationships? Or get out of a lousy job and immediately join a company and get into another lousy job? What is the natural thing that people do? They get fired or laid off from a job, they quit, they go down the street, they look for what? Another job exactly like it. I have found that the ability or the willingness to make a complete commitment to a job, a commitment to a relationship, a commitment to a profession, to make a commitment is one of the hardest things that human beings do. That very few people make commitments. That most people in this room, I hate to say it, most people in this room are not totally committed to their work. Oh yeah, they're doing it, they're in it, they're doing a reasonably good job, nobody's fired them yet, right? But they're not committed, their whole heart isn't into it. And yet no success is possible without commitment. Who is it that Emerson said that every great achievement is the triumph of enthusiasm? That the ability to commit yourself enthusiastically, wholeheartedly, 100% to what you want to do is the starting point of all achievement? That if you cannot commit yourself wholeheartedly, it probably means that it's not right for you? And that all of us in life seek for something that we can commit ourselves to. Alan Cox, in his book, The Achievers, which came out last year, found that the executives in the corporations that he studied who achieved the very most in the shortest period of time had found the proper niche for themselves and had lost themselves in their work. Dr. Shirley Blotnick's study of self-made millionaires, 83 out of 1,500 people became self-made millionaires over 20 years. He found that the one quality that they all had in common was that they picked work that they loved, they specialized in that work, they became very good in it, and they eventually became paid very well for it, and then they held on to the money. I throw that last one in because I know a lot of you can relate to that. They held on to the money. They didn't gamble or speculate. They were very conservative with their money. They got paid more and more, and they held on to it. One of them started off cleaning toilets on the night shift for an airline. And today he's the president of the airline and makes $1,950,000 a year. He's been with the airline for 35 years, but it's not difficult to become a millionaire when you're making $1,950,000 a year. Even with taxes, you can still do pretty well. He found that the quality that separated these people from the ones who struggled for 20 years and weren't much further ahead than when they started was that they became totally absorbed in their work, totally committed to their work. They lost themselves in their work, and when they lifted up their head about the age of 43, 44, their accountant told them, by the way, you're worth over $1 million now. Did you know that? Most of them became wealthy without even knowing it. And so it's important that you find the work that you can commit yourself to. It's important that you find the relationship you can commit yourself to. And if you are an employer and you have people working for you who are not committed to their work, these people are like rotten apples in a barrel. I have found that people who are not committed to their jobs are people who will always cause trouble within an organization. And the people who are committed, you don't have to be the most talented, and you don't have to be the best looking, you don't have to be the best educated, but if you're committed to your work, you'll do more than all the people with all of those blessings. So commitment is important. Commit yourself to your boss, commit yourself to your job, commit yourself to your relationships, commit yourself to your company. Loyalty is one of the most valued single qualities in work. And Peter Drucker says that more executives fail in life because of lack of loyalty to their companies, to their boss, than for any other reason. And why is lack of loyalty? Lack of loyalty is just the expression of lack of commitment to that organization. Dare to go forward in your life. Dare to go forward in the direction of fulfilling your potential. When I was, many years ago, I was a karate student. I was also a karate instructor, and I competed in 3 international championships. And one of the things that I learned from my best karate instructors, and I studied under 6 world champions, is they told me that when you fight, always move forward. Even if you're only moving forward a half an inch at a time, just always move forward. He said when you're moving forward, 100% of your attention is forward. But if you're moving backward, even a half an inch at a time, half of your attention is always behind you and where you're going. So always move forward. Always dare to go forward. Whenever you have a choice of either staying still and playing it safe or moving forward, move forward. Not because you'll necessarily succeed every time, because it reinforces and cements the habit of moving forward. And most people, when they have a choice of moving forward or playing it safe, play it safe. But I think General Douglas MacArthur said there's no security in life, only opportunity. Life is very perverse in a way, because the more we seek security, the less we have it. And the more we seek opportunity, the more we have security. Helen Keller said this beautifully. She said, life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. That the tendency, she said in the earlier parts of this statement, she said the tendency to seek security is the low road to failure. That courage is absolutely essential. And one of the things that I used to think that if you were really courageous, eventually you got to the point where you weren't afraid. I'm going to tell you something, that if you're not a little bit afraid, at least 3 or 4 nights a week, you're not trying hard enough. If you're not falling on your face over and over again, if you're not trembling when you go to sleep with your heart pounding, then what is happening is you're not trying hard enough. You're living too far within your potential. That all really successful people live on the outside edge of what they're capable of. And it's always a little bit scary on the outside edge, because we all have feelings of uncertainty. We all have fears. We all have doubts that hold us back. But the brave person is simply the person who moves forward and keeps taking the chance. And you cannot imagine a successful person without courage. You cannot imagine a successful person without the courage to face and confront their fears and to move forward. In my experience, the fear of failure is the greatest single reason for failure in adult life. The fear of failure, the fear of making a mistake, of losing our money, our time, our effort, is what paralyzes us and holds us back. But the fear of failure is a habit which can be counteracted by the habit of courage. And if we don't overcome that fear of failure, then we'll just be like the 80-90% that do not fulfill their potential. See, the wonderful thing is only a few percentage of people fulfill their potential in any generation. And we can join those people simply by deciding to do so and doing what the other people do. As simple as that. If we decide to become an engineer, what do you study? You study engineering. If you want to become a better cook, what do? You study cooking. Do you try to do it all by yourself? No, you get cookbooks, you take classes, and so on and so forth. If you want to be successful, if you want to fulfill your potential, study the men and women who are fulfilling their potential and just do what they do. And finally, with regard to courage, the great expression of courage is to persist in the face of adversity, but to persist when things really get rough, to be able to pick yourself up and pick yourself up over and over again. And believe me, if you decide to go for the goal in your life, you're going to get knocked down over and over and over and over again. Every single week, you're going to have heartaches and disappointments and frustrations and setbacks and obstacles, but without those obstacles, no success is possible. You see, the only way we can be successful is if we develop momentum. And we cannot develop the momentum unless we are struggling with obstacles. And struggle with adversity goes hand in hand with all great success. What most people do is they back away from adversity. But if you want to see if you're a brave person, what they call the 4 o'clock in the morning courage, wait when things go completely to pieces, when things are the worst, when your very best deal falls apart and your rent is late and you're tired and you're sick and everybody is mad at you and your car doesn't work, then it's the person that picks themselves up and says, nothing is going to stop me. You know, the best quality in the world that you can develop, and I give it to you because I made it my life's habit to develop this quality. I hope I've got it. I don't know for sure. But the quality is to develop the quality of being unstoppable. Develop the quality of being unstoppable. Say in yourself that no matter what life throws at me, it'll never stop me. No matter how rough it gets, I will never quit, and nothing will ever stop me. Make the decision that you can be tired, you can be worn out, but nothing is ever going to stop you. That's a wonderful decision, because then no matter what life throws at you, you pick yourself up and you say, okay, give it your best shot, as Fonzie says. Nothing is going to stop you. It's a wonderful feeling. It's a wonderful feeling. It's the basis of self-esteem.